This morning, a fire on Lisbon Avenue in the city's Kensington neighborhood left 5 people homeless. There was heavy damage to the house, but everyone got out okay. The response today was overseen by a battalion chief, as is standard protocol for the department. But in the past, a lower ranking officer could have been directed to act up and take command if there was a staffing shortage. Now that will no longer happen. 2 on your side's Nate Benson sat down with the fire commissioner to learn more about this change. Nate?
Yeah, good evening, Dave. The Buffalo Fire Commissioner says that suspending the practice of acting out of title will mean leadership continuity at a scene and hopefully improve safety and accountability within the department in the event of a critical incident.
Number one, I want to start over. I want to start over with the concept, and I've led with this since day one, is that officers need to lead.
And with that, Fire Commissioner Daniel Pizarro issued a department order to suspend the practice of acting out of title. Walk me through what that means.
Acting out of title is the official human resources language, and what that is a person of a lower rank acting up to a higher rank.
So if division chief called in, someone kind of steps up and acts as the boss, so
yes, they would act up.
How widespread was that? Is that something that might happen at a station house daily across the city?
It could, yes. It was a standard practice.
It dates back to the mid-1980s, where a union contract allowed for the practice. So why is Commissioner Pizarro suspending the practice except for specific scenarios?
I want my officers to be in positions to be able to operate where they've been trained and to exercise the skill set that the city has invested in for them.
The commissioner implied during our interview that the practice is perhaps happening too often. In his department order issued on May 29th, Commissioner Pizarro said his decision, quote, is intended to bring control and consistency back to a practice that has become too informal in certain areas. You know, several years ago, the city argued in arbitration and that this was permissible and it's something that can happen. That was under a different time, different administration, different commissioner. Why did you believe that you wanted to make that change?
Yes, I see both points of view. I see why it was permissible, and it is still permissible. Within my order, there are parameters as to when that'll be activated. But again, to corral all of that, the concept behind this whole thing is to give officers of the rank that they've studied for, that they've prepared for, that the city has invested money into, to give them opportunities to develop their skill set.
Firefighters acting out of title has been cited as something that was occurring during critical incidents for the Buffalo Fire Department, including the fire that killed Jason Arno in March 2023. Several of the recent critical incidents, including Jason Arno, there were people acting out of title, correct? If I'm understanding some of the legal proceedings that have gone on in some of the state and federal reports for critical incidents, that has been part of the equation, so to speak. Is that right?
Correct, yes, in many aspects. And I'm very careful to say that it is not the acting component in itself that caused the detriment, but throughout national reports, through our own investigations, we found that that was a contributing factor, but that is not the reason why alone, or probably at all, that I've put this out.
Now that the order has been issued, what will happen if a superior officer calls in for the day or there's a general staffing shortage?
We have a battalion chief that called off. We will filter through the battalion chiefs that are available. Once there are no battalion chiefs available, then acting will be identified, and the division chief, per the parameters found in the 1984 collective bargaining agreement, will select an actor, a captain, to move up to that battalion chief. And there'll be informal introductions, expectations, things like that, just to make sure that the actor understands what's expected of them for the day.
So essentially calling somebody in who might be off, calling them in for overtime to fill that gap?
Yes.
But with the city in financial duress, Commissioner Pizarro says he's keenly aware that he has to balance department finances with public safety priorities.
I've thought about that significantly, and the question to shift the narrative becomes, is this a practice that the citizens of Buffalo deserve? Do they deserve proper leadership, continual leadership, and strong leadership in every position, particularly in an emergency services environment? And I say yes. So there will be an impact, and not only do I have those numbers, but there's also tracking measures in place so I can review it quarterly to figure out how to adjust.
Now, this policy went into place on May 29th and could be addressed down the line as the commissioner gathers more data on its effectiveness. Dave?
Nate, so oftentimes when we hear that there's a desired change, we often hear, well, do they have to open up the contract? And so I imagine the union has something to say about this.
Yeah, the union, when I spoke to them, I spoke to Union President John Otto about this, and he said that the union is actually supportive of this change. They welcome the change, and that this is something that they want to see happen as well. So this is certainly something longstanding that they wanted to see change, and Commissioner Pizarro is putting in that change.
All right, there you are. Thanks, Nate.